3, 2, 1, and we're launching. It's the opening season of Dirty Talks podcast. We are back.
Season 2.
Season 2. We are back. Hello, everybody. Oh my God, I'm excited.
I'm too. I'm super happy to see you again and that we are back. A lot of people were asking, but you was asking me, I was asking you. So finally here we are. I think it's good we are back.
Yeah, and I think our timing is good because the World Cup is starting, just in a few days or this weekend. And I think, so the way it works in North America is actually a lot of people are done with their cyclocross season already. So for us, Nationals was last weekend and in the US and it's a couple of weeks. So it's people are kind of winding down their cyclocross season. But the truth is, for us, it's kind of ramping up right now. The biggest part is coming up. So I think this will bring excitement. Hopefully for us, at least it does. So hopefully for people too, you feel like you're part of our World Cup season and that you can join us and follow us. And yeah, I'm just happy that we're doing this again.
Yeah, it's weird to think that on some continents it's actually almost done, and others, the biggest parts of the biggest races still have to come.
Yeah, I actually think, but that's kind of new from the UCI that the World Cup starts that late. But yeah. I don't know. What did you think about it? I thought that was pretty cool idea. At least we have to try. It's something new. But what it did for me, very selfishly, it allowed me to go to nationals because normally there's always a World Cup the same weekend as nationals. And I'm always I'm going to choose a World Cup. But it was so fun to be back there. So I don't know. For me, I think it's a interesting idea. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But
I brought something good. You had some good racing this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. It was good. We'll talk all about that.
Yeah, wait. We go too quick already.
We go too quick. I think what do you think? I think it would be fun to give just little catch up, give people an idea, how has your beginning of the season been? I know, I'm sure people have watched a race and it looks like you've been killing it, but how are you doing? Did you make any big changes? Bring us up to date. What's been up?
Yeah, start at the beginning. It's a good way to do it because, I guess not everybody was there from the beginning. Some people still with their head in road racing or anything else. Mm-hmm. And the season started already a bit later. The races were brought a bit further back, but it all started super good, I have to say. All the prep was good. That helps a lot. Not breaking any bones and stuff like this. So that was a big change from the last 2 seasons, not starting with an injury. And next to that, my biggest change is that my boyfriend really is 100% mechanic now. Wow. That was super interesting. A bit intense in the start of the year, I have to say, having all bikes and materials here and prepping them. But on the other side, really cool. I did realize I should have known way more about my materials. I do now.
Yeah, so how so can you explain what it was before and what it is where was your material going before? Was your previous mechanic receiving everything at their own house or what's kind of the difference?
My previous mechanic, he was super dedicated and he had the possibility to have my camper at his home and he also had all my materials, so he built them and then he took care of them the whole year. Mostly during the season I have one cyclocross bike at home and we swapped this bike a little bit, so of course this one stays in good condition as well after training and stuff like this. But so basically there was barely any material at home. And this year we changed that. Our roads went a little bit different paths. My boyfriend have been in cycling also for a longer time, and we have also more in the family, more knowledge about everything. So we had good help to get to know everything the way we had to know. And now we have the camper at home. luckily, yeah, living in a forest in the winter, we have more space for that, because it all
Mm.
started also how we had it set up while I was living in the city, and then having a camper is a big disaster.
It's hard. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and well, actually, so far really good. It's a nice change.
Cool. So maybe at some point we could have Levin join and ask what it's been for him, kind of learning everything. Because I bet it's a bit stressful, like
Yeah, it can
learning
be.
everything. And yeah, I mean, like in cyclocross, like the material is so important. And so, like, if he has to learn how everything works, it can be stressful. Like, oh my God, I hope. Like before the first race, I hope I did it all good, when
Yeah.
it's just starting. So pretty cool that you're doing it together now.
Yeah, it's really together now, and of course it's all next to his own job, so it's true, it's sometimes demanding, especially when it's a very muddy race or something that materials need more attention. But so far he still survives, so maybe we ask him later this year.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But what
that's
about
awesome.
you? Because I mean, like you said already in the intro, the American cyclocross season is fully packed from like September. You have the American Cup, right? If I'm correct.
Yep.
And that one is finished, and you had your nationals and all other kind of races. Like we had the European Championships. There is also is it American Continental, or how you call it actually?
It's
Help
called
me.
it's called yeah, that's a good question. It's called Pan American Championship.
Perfect. So that one was also, I think, in the same weekend as the European. So talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. It's been a different beginning of the season for me. Normally I come in September and I'm like firing, like really doing good. Like I think in the last few years, some of my best fitness has been in the beginning of the season, actually, because I have flexibility in the summer. Like I don't have like a big road program or big mountain bike program. I race like at home, or like I pick a few races, but I have a lot of time to train. So normally I come in super fit, and I actually this year I was pretty fit, but then maybe 2-3 weeks before the season I got COVID. And it really knocked me out. Like for quite a few weeks, I was just like really, really tired, and it went into the lungs, and so I was having a hard time there. And then when I finally got better, I had like 1 week where I was like, okay, I'm finally doing better. I can start training well. And then I got sick again, and I was like, oh my God, couldn't believe it. And that was like kind of the nail in the coffin that they say. So after that, it was, I started the season still, and I managed some okay result, but it was just very hot or cold. Like I could have one good day and then be shit the next day, or it was really like that.
So your recovery was not good.
No. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about that later, but yeah, it was just like, it took me a long time to get back, but eventually my health was good and I could start like stacking the training more and more, and it got better and better. So I ended up having some good races on the US circuit, and I feel like now I'm in a good level and I'm healthy and it's going well. So and then we had nationals too, and that was also another good race. So it's just, I think, when I was in the middle of it, when it was not going well, I was pretty pissed about it. But I think now looking back, maybe it will help me to be better like throughout the winter, because if you come in too hot, sometimes it's hard to keep the level. Yeah. So now, like, I actually managed to do a lot of solid training, like still now, and I think maybe it will help me to be better for when the World Cup starts. So only time will tell. We'll see. But yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of how it's been. And yeah, I mean, what's like, if we talk about the races that just happened, because like maybe we can tell people, like we try to up our game in the podcast thing. So we have like we have some chapters, we want to create a structure that when you tune in, you'll kind of know what to expect. And we want to make sure that every time that we chat, which will be a weekly occurrence, like we'll talk every week.
We went a little bit too much left and right the last
yes,
season.
Exactly. And And so, yeah, we want to talk a little bit about how the race happened. We want to, I mean, we'll take you through it today, but every week we have some subjects that we want to talk to you about. We want to talk about the race. We want to talk about recovery. We have some pro insight or throwback like stories about what made
Dirty
us
throwback.
Exactly, the dirty throwback, what made us like good stories about either people that were in the sport or like what made us better rider. Pro insight where we can share tip with you guys, some fan favorites. So that's where we can answer your question or just share a story about a fan that we met over the weekend that was cool, and then talk about the upcoming races. So that's kind of what we're aiming for.
Yeah, exactly. We aim for it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't complain, please, when we miss out. We just love to make it, a nice chat, and we try to keep our line in it.
Exactly. So, I mean, if we do talk about the race, you had a double weekend this weekend with let me try that. Aardbeenkruis en Merksplas.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the Saturday, and then I forget which one on the Sunday, but you did another one on the Sunday.
Yeah, Hamme. So normally this
Hamme.
is a race that's a bit later in the year, so they moved it forward. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, I watch your races before my races, so every Sunday, usually I watch your race, and then it gets me pumped for my race. You had a lot of tight battles with Celine and Sarah Casasola too this year. How's that been? You know, how, like, even this week, like, finish in a sprint, I think both days?
Yeah, more or less a sprint. So, yeah, it's true. Already from the beginning of the year, the first races, Fem was also there. We had, I think, 4 really strong riders battling with each other. And Sarah is really catching up, like the little gap she maybe still had with us. She's really, closing that, especially Sunday. She was very, very strong. Both races were fast. So Saturday was extremely fast. It was almost like a road race with some obstacles in between. And
yeah, it looked so fast.
Yes, and Sarah is Italian temperament rider. It's really nice. I think this, but I mean,
what does that mean?
What does it mean? Well, it's not negative. First of all, let that be clear. But I don't know. Italians sometimes, they pumped up a little bit and have some. She's a very explosive rider too, and she can really use that in cyclocross. And she doesn't dare to fight for a position. She also did that Saturday, and then that ended up being a little bit stuck with each other. And then Celine had the chance to have a little gap, and it was too close to the finish line to totally close it. So it was a very thrilling final where the sand pit very close to the finish. Celine was a bit stuck in it, and I had quite a good run into it. But then I only came till her rear wheel. And the finish line was too short to really make it happen. And we were also both very empty. So it was a thrilling final in the end. And on Sunday, yes, it was also fast, but a little bit muddy in the ditches. So that made it a bit more challenging. And it's the competition on time. And that also changed.
So the X2O, the X2AO series is on time, and the Super Prestige is on placing.
Yeah, on points, exactly, yes.
Okay.
So also those type of how classification is made change the tactics sometimes a little bit. So Sarah had a really good day. She felt very strong to me, and I'm in front. I was already in front of her in the classification. So my biggest goal was that she would not drop me, and that I would be able to win the day. And she also was not really willing to make like big turns and just more trying to drop me. which is also not so strange, of course. So in the end, we had a really nice big battle, and Celine was hanging on a little bit and came back every time because we were looking. And yes, Celine going into a final, she's very fired up for that and very handy. So in the end, she could pull it her side. But again, it was very tight. I had a bike change in the last lap.
Oh, yeah, saw that.
Yeah, and people were really curious because firsthand, it looks very stupid, of course. But my gearing was a little bit popping, so there were a lot of leaves because, yes, all the leaves are dropping down the trees now. And I think there was like a leaf stuck on my cassette. And because of that, it was a little bit chopping. And I didn't want to take the risk that in the end, if I wanted to push, that it was not going. So I really had to change my bike to be sure that I had nothing wrong going with my gearing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a
Cyclocross.
safe. Well, yeah, you make like, and that's the thing. So you make decisions so quickly, and you try to make the best decision on what it is. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it was or it was not the best decision, but it's always better to make a decision than to hesitate. You know, at least you have to make a move, and then you see what happens with that. What, you know, you've been racing a lot, like with Celine and Sarah, and you shared now like a little bit about their style of riding and how that affect racing. Yeah, I mean, you said like, oh, Celine in the final, you have to be careful with Celine, and like actually we saw the Italian style of racing of Sarah. Again, not negative, but she does like some passes sometimes that are like, is it gonna pass? And sometimes it squeezes, or like actually sometimes she gets stuck, or someone gets stuck. So like, how do you adjust your racing with other people's style, you know?
Yeah, so of course,
without giving us all your secrets.
No, don't worry. But you know, even like before the race, sometimes in the camper, people ask me, "So, what's your tactic?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't have a tactic." Of course, I have kind of a tactic, but you never can predict. So it's true.
You can never know.
You learn how a certain rider is racing and what's the strong and what's weakness of a rider. For example, in Hamme, you have close to the last part of the lap, you have like kind of a little bit of an off-camber section, and we run around the corner and jumped on again. So, for example, I do know if Celine is on the front, she's a very strong rider in just jumping on and going without even being already really in the pedals. She straight away bumps, she makes her meters. Where Sarah and me also struggle a little bit more with that. Then, I mean, I hope they knew this already, so I'm not telling them something new now. But then, of course, you would try to be in front of her to avoid that she can use her strength.
Yeah,
especially on moments in the final. So in Europeans, for example, somewhere during the race, I did a move passing, and then right on the moment I did it, I was like, damn, maybe I should have kept that one for the final lap, because now they know. You know, so it's also in the moment, like you already say, in the moment you make a decision. And you have to learn to read the race and read the people, because yes, if they are a bit more tired, maybe their strength is also not on that point anymore, and maybe it's on something else. So it's never that you really can say exactly how it will be going, but yes, you analyze situations and you take it to the next races.
Yeah, and you're right. Like when you talk about that Europeans race, it's like, yeah, maybe you should wait for the last lap. But at the same time, sometimes I'm like, oh, I should try it before to see if it actually works.
Yes.
But then when you do that, you show your cards, and I'm like, like it's hard to know what's the best thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
So
and sometimes it's just intuition. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. And also, I think like on that subject, like it's a fine balance of being aware of what the others are doing and kind of reading that, but also not putting too much focus on them and like being focused on ourselves still.
Yeah.
Like I think I made a big mistake in that way at nationals this weekend where so I started really fast because I mean I didn't know, like, I didn't race. The main competitors for us was the Holmgren sisters, so people might know Isabella and Ava, they're your teammates.
My teammates.
So they were there, and Sydney McGill, who is our Pan American champion. And so I didn't really know how it would race, but I do know a little bit their strengths. It was a very hilly course, and I know Isabella is a great climber. But I also know I'm more explosive. I have like a little bit more punch. But still, I was trying to like enter the race with open mind and see like, okay, I do my race and then I evaluate what's going on. And so I started fast because I wanted to. I don't know, like I just felt like we had to start fast. And just see. And at the beginning I had a gap with like me and Sydney were in front of. Sydney's like a super strong. She's a strong starter, but also I thought she had just won Pan Ams, and like I don't think she's won many races before. And for her, like my opinion about Sydney is like she's better than we've seen. Like she's actually super strong, but I think sometimes she doesn't have the confidence, so she like lets someone go, or like she's too polite, so she will let someone go in front and say sorry even, but she's actually super strong. So when I saw that she was like with me at the front and like kind of pushing the pace, I'm like, okay, like that's a new rider. Like she's gained the confidence now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I tried to make it hard from the start, seeing like kind of testing. And I also knew we had a gap on Isabella. And I think like maybe we're both better starters than she is, but I also know that she gets stronger and stronger as the race goes on. So I was like, okay, I should probably make that gap big
as
now,
possible. Yeah,
exactly, as big as possible. So anyway, like the race, we did maybe 2 laps, and eventually I dropped Sydney, and I could see that Bella was there, like not too far. Like my gap was not increasing. I was trying, but I was like calm about it. But for a second, I like thought about her, and I was like, okay, where is she? Like, is she catching up? The time I thought about that, I slid out and I lost some time, and then she caught up to me. And so that's why I say like, we have to think about them, but at the same time, not so much.
It's totally true. I had a moment like that too in Overijse. There was a point where you could see them. And so I looked up and I realized, they came like a little bit closer than the lap before, and I slide out. It's so it's always the same.
And it's maybe like 2 seconds of thinking about that. Like just, it doesn't take much to like make a little mistake.
Nope.
And anyway, like she caught up to me, and then like in my mind was like, okay, new race. Like I'll try a different strategy now, and eventually she was just like, she didn't even attack. She didn't even like, she just rode better. She did like one of those femme things, when she it was like an off-camber climb. And 1 second I was on her wheel, and like I looked down to like see because it was muddy, so I looked down to see like what's the fastest line. And next thing I know, I look up and she's like 15 meters in front, and I'm like, so what?
To explain to people, like maybe we need to find like a name for this, so people can send it to us. But so because you say like a femme kind of move, so what Fem and also Isabel do sometimes, they're still sitting in the saddle. You don't see any changes on the body language, and suddenly they just speed it up. So it's really hard to react as another rider behind, because the moment you realize that they have been speeding up, they have already that little advantage of being faster. So you have to speed up even more on that same moment. And that's really complicated.
Yeah, and like actually, like so when I saw it, I'm like, okay, go harder. But it was that kind of not much traction, So if I went harder, I had less traction, and I was like, shit, like I just can't even go. Next thing I knew, she had a gap, and I could never close it. So anyway, she won.
Yeah.
And then
But it was a good fight, and it also
it
looked
was
like a really fun but hard course.
super fun course. They really did a good job. Like hilly, there was a run up that was like a downhill and run up that reminded me of Namur a little bit. They really
Mm.
did a good job. So it was super fun. Um, and yeah, I mean, I was a bit bummed out that I didn't win the jersey because it's so cool to be the national champion.
Yes.
But at the same time, it wasn't like I beat myself, like she was just faster on the day. And like I did still a strong race and she won. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then the next day, and
You
also
took
like she's
revanche,
not,
right?
yeah, the next day, yeah, the next day I was better. So what happened though is same course, but it dried a little bit. So instead of being seated effort the whole time, you could stand up and like
You could do your
accelerate.
punch.
Yeah. And like I think that helped me. And then I got it on the second day. And I think also like I was pretty tired just because like the championships, it's emotionally like involved,
Mm-hmm.
So the next day I was really tired, but then I thought like probably everybody is. So I decided to make it hard because I thought probably everyone wants a tactical race, but I'll just make it hard. And then everyone has to like fight with themselves a little bit.
Smart.
Yeah. So anyway, like it was a good weekend. And I mean, people know Isabella, like we know it's not like, I mean, she's like a extremely good rider. So I'm not ashamed that I lost to her,
She's extremely talented.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool that the level in Canada is getting higher and higher with them coming up. So I actually like, as much as it's a bummer to not win the jersey, I'd rather get second in a strong field than, be the only rider racing cyclocross in Canada and then just win,
No,
So
totally
I think
understand that.
it's kind of a good situation.
Yeah, no, I think you did a really good job, I have to say.
Thank you.
How hilly it was. And then, yeah, I think it's really good. But I had a question about, like, did you know the course? Because, of course, I follow your Instagram stories and I saw you training the running up on a steep hill, I think somewhere near your home. So, and then of course later I saw some images of the course where some similar situations were in the course. So you knew up front and you have been choosing to train that especially for this race, or?
No, I didn't know the course because it's a new race. So I didn't know that would be it. But we found that park close to our home, which is really, really fun for cyclocross training. It's similar than the type, you can do similar circuit as the type of training you guys do in the forest, that you can make like a 4-minute circuit and there's little trails, there's steep hills. This one is, it's not always a run up. Like when it's dry, I can ride it, but it's super steep. It's like, or the pit. How do you say? Out the pit?
Out the pit.
Yeah. Out of the pit. So yeah, I didn't know, but we just have been training on that circuit, and I always train the running a little bit because especially in Europe, there's more running. So when I'm preparing to go there, I always make sure that I practice. So yeah, it was kind of a coincidence, but it did help because actually Isabella is on top of being a good climber. She's a really good runner, and there was a lot of running on that course. So maybe she was running a bit faster, but I could actually keep up quite a bit. So it was a good thing.
Good that you trained it.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready for big news? Are we ready for the big news?
Yes. We, of course, like people who listen to the Instagram live will join this know already a little bit. But yes. So go ahead.
Okay. So let's explain like the background. We didn't know if we would be doing the podcast again. We had fun doing it last year, but it does take time and we have to be organized. And, we said it's in the middle of the World Cup season, so it's a busy time for both of us. But we thought if we can find a partner that supports us, we should do it. And so we looked around and we found someone. So Whoop. So Whoop decided that they wanted to support us, and we'll explain what is Whoop, but I just want to say like cyclocross is a very niche market, so not every company want to support something that's, about cyclocross and like women's cyclocross. Like it's very, very niche.
Yeah,
but
it's very
Whoop
small.
believed in it. Very small, yeah. But Whoop believed in it, and they said, like, actually, we love that audience. We want to support this sport, and we love what you guys are doing. So they support our podcast. So yeah, thank you, Whoop, for
Yeah.
doing that.
Thanks. Big
What
shout
is
out.
Whoop? Big shout out to Whoop.
Well, Whoop, what is it? Maybe I can explain the best as I just received one.
Yes.
Yes. But it basically records the whole day what you're doing, I noticed. And by reckoning that, it can also tell you a bit more about your physical state, about how you slept, and how fit you are. So, of course, the more data there's in, the more it can tell the truth to you, which is maybe with me still a little bit less. But yeah, it normally would help us. Like, you're always doubting about your own feelings, right? Do I really feel this, and so on? So, you work already longer with it. You use it already a long time, and maybe you even saw your sickness coming with it. I don't know.
So actually, yeah, I didn't see the sickness coming, but what I saw, I did see how long it took me to get back to my normal level. So the Whoop is like, you wear it as a bracelet, and you wear it 24/7. So you wear it all the time, and it calculates your heart rate variability, your skin temperature, your respiratory rate. It calculates your sleep. It calculates everything. And like that data over time, you get to understand yourself, and it creates patterns. And eventually, if something is different, so let's say you get sick or you're more tired, actually, even when I'm in my period, like suddenly your data changes a little bit. And so then you can wonder like, oh, what happened here? So for example, when I got COVID, and it took me a long time. So let's say my HRV was, I can say, since I've been wearing it for so long, I can see where it's been for all these months, So like I can go back to 6 months and what's my average. And I can see that like my HRV went up a little bit as I got fitter and fitter throughout the summer. And then from the time I got sick, it took 2.5 months, like it went down, down, down. And now it's finally almost back to where it was. So it went down to like before I even got fit. And so it's crazy how, eventually I did feel better, but it's crazy how your body takes a long time to get back to normal. And then like the Whoop can tell you that. And then it can also give you advice on like, okay, what to do to get back to that. And like deep sleep is a really important thing. So like, how can I increase my deep sleep? And is my deep sleep like really good? And so it really helps to optimize the performance and optimize the health. So it's not just for pro athletes, like a lot of people that, they're just that love to train, they love to ride, and they also have a full-time job. It's super helpful to get to understand yourself and understand like, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone want to feel good. Everybody wants to like,
for sure.
and like sleep well. And
isn't it
exactly.
Also because it also can measure your skin temperature and stuff like this, that you as a woman can also help you predict when you're able to get pregnant.
Yes, exactly. So it tells you like, and the more you, so there's a journal in it, and I don't know, like, actually, maybe it's interesting to talk about it because maybe you don't know all of it yet, but there's a journal. Okay. So in the journal that you can fill out every day, it asks you a question, and you get to choose the question you put in. So for me, like I did put some question about my menstrual cycle. And so let's say, one of the question is like, are you menstruating? So if I'm starting my cycle, I will put yes. And over time, it calculates how long your cycle is. So you know exactly when it will come back. And then it tells you, by doing that, it also tells you where you're ovulating, and that means like when you can get pregnant. But also, yes, your skin temperature changes, so you can see that. So like there's actually a lot of good feedback. Like I never calculated my cycle before, and that really helped me to know, because then like it helps in training too. Like for me, I know that I always feel like shit the day before and the day of the first day. And at first, like I was always questioning and like, oh my God, I think I need to retire. I'm not motivated anymore. But then like, boom, I get my period, So it's like, helps you to know yourself better.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So how has it been for you so far?
Yeah, I'm just getting used to wearing something all day, first of all. So I'm still
Yeah.
like sometimes finding where do I like it the most.
Yeah.
So there are actually, I found on the internet, so you don't need to wear it on your wrist. I don't know if there's a difference in how good the information gets around, but there are also possibilities to wear it in a bra or in your underwear, on more around your upper arm. So they provide some other options if you don't like to have a wrist thing on your wrist the whole time, or that it's too much in the picture, for example. And so yeah, I have to still get used to it. So I was very confused for now. Like my heart HVR is like up and down.
It's moving
left.
a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's moving a lot. So maybe it needs to get used to me, or like so yes, I need a bit more data to understand like what's going on exactly. And I think once we get more data, it also tells me a little bit better how, so it tells you of course how you're recovered. And I feel like the HVR is really having a big impact on it. So as soon as it's a little bit lower than my super highest level I had, then it tells me, yeah, you did not recover at all. And I'm like, oh, no, I actually feel quite okay today, so.
Yeah. And that's important. I love that you say that, because it's important to also follow how you feel.
Yes.
And this is like an added data that can, like on Sunday, the day after nationals, I had like a red recovery, like pretty bad, but I felt tired, but I also was able to perform great, So it doesn't always, well, I guess like what I'm trying to say, like you can still perform even if you're in the red, but sometimes it's nice to listen. And, if I can share how long, like basically Whoop works on your own average. And so for you, let's say you've been wearing it for like 2 weeks, it doesn't have much to create a good average. So it takes a while to really be able to be precise. And so I'm sure like the more that we do this, the more you'll find patterns and we can share with the people. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So I have one more question about that already for you now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, when it's red, you're not going to decide, let's skip this race. We don't do it because it's red. But do you have it's red and maybe today the training was intensive, planned, I do another training because that will help in the end to become in a better condition instead of training in the red?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. So like in a situation where yes, like I will follow what it tells me, is if I wake up and I'm already, before looking at the Whoop, I'm already like, kind of groggy and like a little bit of a headache and like feeling tired. And if I feel like I'm already on the edge and it tells me that, yeah, I'm actually like deep in the dump and like my HRV is super, super low or my respiratory rate is super high, then I'll say like, okay, actually maybe I'm fighting something and maybe it's worth taking one day more easy and then the next day I'm back on top. So sometimes I do it if it affirms what I'm already feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I feel good and then I wake up and it tells me I'm in the red, sometimes it's just like, that's the goal of training, that you want to make. So I like you learn to play with it, I think.
To balance it. Nice.
Yeah.
So for sure, you guys will hear more about it. We are not going to like really make it like a commercial thing, but I think for everybody, for us ourselves, but also for you guys, it's really interesting to hear about the recovery. And also we will talk later in other episodes about what we try to do to improve it. Because yes, it's nice if some device is telling you you recovered or not, but for sure, of course, there are a lot of things to help recover.
Exactly. So yeah, thank you, Whoop. So I mean, what I'm excited about this partnership is like, yes, it allows us to do the podcast, but also we can also get better from it.
Yes,
it's like we can actually, we're actually using it to kind of optimize our season. So we're excited to share more of that with you in the recovery zone part of this episode of the podcast.
Cool. But our podcast is called Dirty Talk. So do you have any dirty throwback?
Yeah, I actually do, because it's not that dirty though, but it's like a little story about nationals, and maybe it also fits in like a little insight. Um, there's so maybe you know her. There's a French rider. Her name is Christelle Ferrier-Bruno. So
Yeah.
she's you know her. So she had like a lot of success on the cyclocross European circuit in her time. It's like maybe 10 years ago or more or less. And eventually she moved to Canada and she became
Ah.
Canadian.
Oh, really?
So she did. So back in so my first national championship that I won was in 2016.
Mhm.
And then I actually had like a pretty good season in 2017, and I was thinking that I could defend my title. And then she became Canadian and she raced the nationals with me. So I was like even more motivated to try to beat her because I'm like, I can't believe a French rider is going to come and win our
What you
national
coming to
championship.
do here?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I have to win this thing. But I was younger, you know, I was like maybe 21 or something. And 22, 23, I don't know. I was younger. And she was a very experienced rider. Like she was in a podium at European championships. Like she's been French champion many times. And so I started the race and I raced like a nervous racer, you know, like from the start at the front, like going as hard as I could. And, you know, not being really smart about how I was racing. And I was going and going. And at some point I was like starting to be really cracked and she wasn't far back. And so I started panicking. I was like, oh my God, like I'm already going full gas and she's still right there. Like I did not expect that. In my mind, if I went as hard as I could, I would win easy, you know?
Yeah.
But then she was right there and right there. And eventually she beat me and I lost. And I was
did you
like,
knew already before the race that she earned all those victories in Europe?
no.
Okay. Yeah.
I
You
didn't
thought,
know.
Oh, it's just someone, I don't know, older than me suddenly became Canadian, comes over here.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I knew she was good, but I didn't know how good.
Yeah.
And eventually, yeah, she just beat me because I went way too hard. I was not smart at all, and I eventually panicked. And like once I panicked, I was like, you know, and then
You're
she
stuck.
passed me, and then exactly, like she passed me, and I kind of like mentally broke.
Everything blocked.
Yes, absolutely. And I think like I kind of like this. I was devastated when I lost, you know, because I felt like yes, she beat me, but I did feel like I beat myself a little bit. Like I you know, I kind of choked. And the biggest lesson I learned from that race was you only have to be first at the finish line. Like
yeah.
really, you know, it really doesn't matter how the
Nope.
race happens. Like, and from that point on, it really changed my mind that there's no one way. There's not just one way to win the race. You don't have to lead the whole time. You don't have to make it as hard as you can. Sometimes the best way to win is to, you know, you stay with the rider
Yeah.
and you sprint. Like there's so many ways. And like as much as I was like crying so much, like it really crushed me, that defeat. But at the same time, I think it's one of the most important lessons I learned about racing. So
basically that loss made you think way more about how you can race a race tactically. And before you never thought about it.
No. And then the next year I came. And I won. So
good.
yeah.
And
what about you? Did
she ever?
Oh, go ahead.
You know, did you ever talk with her about it, and that you thought that you, and yeah, that also what you thought, like what you telling now, like about, you thought just fly in and I go, and anyway I will drop everybody, and then she came.
Yeah, I don't know that I talked to her about it, but we do talk, and she actually raced this weekend, so she's she's a mom, and she's actually pretty involved in the cyclocross scene in Quebec and Canada right now. So she's doing a lot of good, and like now that I know her background, and she's always been like such a classy rider, you know, like now I can appreciate her experience and that like how experienced and smart she was when we raced together for the first time. Like now I see it and I'm like, of course, you know, like easy. I made it easy for her in a way, you know. She just like watched me. She watched me. She stayed there and she like pounced when it was time, and she's just like got it. So I never told her, but we are still talking, and yeah, I have lots of respect for her actually. So she taught me a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
yeah, about teaching in cyclocross. So actually this week I was talking with Sanne Kant about it. I think before she never knew. So when I started to do it a little bit like more bigger races in cyclocross, I technically I was really a disaster. And I had no clue. I didn't train it. I had no idea how to do it. I just was a strong rider because all the strength came from the road. Also, my materials were not always on point. I just started racing with some tube tires instead of just with an inside tire and stuff like this. So many times in the reckon I was like, how do I need to do this here? And I have no clue. And people were watching and looking and retrying and another time of trying. And I was always like once, twice. And I was like, okay, whatever. First lap, I will follow Sanne and I just copy what she's doing. And then I can do it, you know?
Yes.
Just always trying to copy. Of course, it doesn't always work if you don't have the technique. But literally, most of the time, sometimes I even just stayed on purpose behind to just see the first lap.
Yeah.
And then later trying. Of course, sometimes you still do in a race because sometimes you have on a course like, how is possible that this person goes so much quicker through this section than I do?
Mm-hmm.
So you try to learn while racing. But yes,
I do the same. Yeah.
we had a moment this week that was a bit more complex, and then I said maybe we can do it like I always did in the past. Then you make sure you race in front of me the first lap. I can copy you, and then I use it in the rest of the race.
And then what did she say?
She could laugh about it. I mean, it's also a compliment, of course. She is a very technical rider, and still maybe she isn't racing. I mean, I think she's still racing on a high level, but in general, the level just have been grown so much, also in cyclocross. So she isn't racing for the victory anymore, but she has so much skills and she has so much experience. She really knows how to do a course. So you still can learn so much from her.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love Sanne. She's like such a cool rider. I think like, I don't know. I always like kind of looked up to her, and she's
I understand.
She's also like fun. I've actually done some pre-rides sometimes with her where not planned, but we end up at the same feature together, and I kind of used your technique. Like I watch her do it.
Yeah. I mean,
or actually last year in Niel, there was that huge kind of, maybe it was in ditch. This year too, the ditch, and then you get in the deep mud.
Yes, it's always in there, but I did complain a little bit about it now because this year, the part where I was running, I tried to find a path in the middle, and so your feet is going into the mud till like between your ankle and your knee, really like till halfway somewhere, so deep.
Yeah.
And so twice while running, my feet got stuck under a tree. How do you call it? When the tree is a root, yes. So that's quite dangerous, I have to say, because you can flip over, dangerous. Of course. So I don't know how they want to fix that, but yes, this year still was in.
Yeah. So anyway, like that last year, like both Sanne and I were at the top, and we're like, how are we gonna get down this thing? And like we kind of helped each other, and it worked out. So yeah, thank you, cool. Sanne, for all the technical tips.
Perfect. Yes.
All right. What about fan favorite? Do you have something to share about a fan interaction from this week?
Not really. Of course, we got some little interaction when we launched that we would do this podcast. That mainly went over, please invite this person, or it would be really nice if you guys are going to interview some other riders. So yes, we will do that. We are going to listen to you guys. We already were planning to have some nice guests, so we surely will come back with some guests in the other episodes. But the fan fave is really your place for your questions. So don't hesitate if you want to know anything from us, or if we have someone in our podcast, to send us your questions by Instagram, Twitter, I don't know, maybe like the place you find it. And we will try to answer them.
Okay. Someone sent me a question, so we can maybe
great.
answer that.
Perfect.
Yeah. So there's 2 fan faves. So the first one goes out to a little 11-year-old girl who was at the national championships this week. Her name is Elodie, and she's like the cutest. And she races too. Like she won in her category. She won the Quebec provincial championships, and she's like, like there is photos of her. She's like so fierce on the bike and the mud. She's like so cool. And she came to cheer this weekend, and she had made this big sign like go Maghalie. So going back, it was cool because her sign has 2 sides. The first side was go Maghalie, like pictures and drawing and like a CX Fever hand. And the other side was go Christelle, because so good. Anyway, she was just cool, and like it was fun to meet her because she wrote to me on Instagram before a few times, and it was really nice to get to know her and just kind of feed off her energy and enthusiasm for the sport. So yeah, shout out to Elodie, and thanks for having the CX Fever.
Yeah, perfect. So young already.
Yeah,
but she had a
and
question.
Not her. Someone else had a question.
Okay.
The question came from Paul Whitelock, and he wanted to know, when we have a double weekend of racing, do we have a recovery protocol that we follow on the Monday to kind of get back to top level, like to recover well from that?
Do you? Is it different? Well, first, is it different? Is it a different protocol from when you do a single race?
Actually, I rarely do single race unless I'm in Europe. Like for us, it's always double weekends.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it is a little bit different, because then sometimes like I'll kind of make it another maybe long day on the day. If I only race one, maybe I make it a longer day. I don't know. It's not always the same protocol for me. Like it changes depending on the traveling, depending on where I am in the season. Like this particular time yesterday, I took a day off, and I usually don't do that on the Monday. But David was saying like the double weekend was, yes, the racing, but I think, as I said, like the emotional kind of involvement of nationals, like he wanted to make sure we was really well recovered, and also there was more interaction with people, so we wanted to make sure there was like we're not fighting a cold or something like that. So we took off yesterday, and I just really relaxed and kind of organized my week, which for me is relaxing, to like make sure that everything is organized and it's not like chaos in my brain. So I took yesterday to do all that. Yeah, it's
important too.
Yeah, it's very important. And also I think I'm flying to Europe in 1 week, so we wanted to take like 2 days to really recover, and then tomorrow I start like one last big week of training before flying. So I wanted to make sure I'm super recovered going into that. So yeah, what about you?
I would not call it a protocol, but I always try to really keep an eye on my proteins. So after every race, basically, so straight away after the finish, I have my shake. And then after everything you have to do, so sometimes it's podium, sometimes even still go to control and or media. Then I still always try to spin out, even if it's only like 10 minutes is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then after the shower, I will make sure to have another moment to eat. Again, this one is then with more carbs and also proteins. And then I will always try to keep on having small bits of food till my dinner. And also really make sure that I have a recovery or like a shake or like some Greek yogurt or anything like that before I go to bed, so that my muscles still have some proteins in the night to recover. That's most of it, I have to say. Yes. That's in general how I try to do it. Of course, one time is a bit better than the other time. It's not that I'm with a stopwatch or something like, and now I do this or now I do that. But yes, it's in big lines.
Yeah, I like your answer. That's a really good answer. I think it gives like actual things for people to maybe pay attention to. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay. I mean, next races. What's coming up? It's the first World Cup of the season.
Yes, everybody, all the media is getting super excited. The World Cup is starting. Yeah, for me.
How do you feel about it?
For me, it feels more like just another weekend of racing, to be honest. And maybe also because the first one is in Belgium, in Antwerp, so it's close by. So yeah, of course I look forward to it. But I don't really have different competition feeling with it so far. Maybe once we are there, it's more like that. And I look forward. I think it's going to be a nice first round of the World Cup in Antwerp, actually.
Do you know if any new riders are coming for the race? Like, is Puck gonna be there?
Puck is not there yet. Fem is coming back, yes. So she was out for 2 weeks, but she will be racing again. Puck is not on the list yet.
Shirin is not racing either, huh? Not for the full season, I think.
Unfortunately, will not race the whole season. She had a really hard operation on the, how you call it, like the... Yes, I'm not prepared.
Iliac,
yes, help me.
Iliac something.
Yes,
shit. Sorry.
Yeah,
you can find the information online about what happened to Shirin, but
it's so
iliac artery something.
Yeah. So she had some problems with getting enough blood through her leg, and like the very common cyclist problem. That was quite a big operation, and it's going well with her. I had some short contact with her last week, but yes, she, besides some very short walks, she is not allowed to do anything yet. She has to be straight laying, so there cannot be a little, she cannot bend her hip basically, because then it's not good for her to put that bended. So that's difficult when you're an active person, not doing anything. So unfortunately, we will not see her whole cyclocross season and also the road. I'm sure she will be back on the road, but not in the beginning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it should be fun racing. I'm not racing this weekend. It's my final. Yeah, I'm coming for Dublin, so I'll be there for the second round.
We can't wait.
Me too. I'm very excited about it. The only reason, if people might wonder, the only reason I didn't do Antwerp is because the first few rounds, there's quite a bit of traveling. So it's actually Dublin and then Italy and then like back to Belgium. So if I started in Antwerp, it was like 6 flights in like the first 3 rounds. So it was a lot. And I thought it would be better to just prepare well and show up to Dublin and start there. And actually, the flight to Dublin from my house is very short, so it's easy to get there.
Short in terms of someone who's used to fly, yeah?
Yeah. It's like just about 5 hours, not like maybe not quite. So it's quite easy to get there. And I just thought like, let's make it logistically simple to the start, and then I can really focus on the performance and not get lost in, kind of the craziness of it. So hopefully that works, but we'll see.
I hope so too. That would be really good to have another competitive rider in the field. We have a few this year, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
Because also last weekend with Mari Schreiber, she's really up front there. Maybe still sometimes need to balance her first lap a little bit. And then also Zoe Buckstead,
Zoe's back.
She's back, and she was improving during her races already a little bit. So maybe Antwerp is still too early for them, but I hope, yes, we get some really good fights there internationally wise also, and not only Dutch flags.
Yeah, there's also Blanca. I don't know if she's racing, but she can also be really good.
She will come back, and she will. I talked to her. I do not remember exactly when she's coming back to race again, but she's going to do a lot.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's exciting.
Yes.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Should we do a poll? Who do you think is your podium of choice?
Oh, a podium. So do we do a podium, or only the winner? For a poll is difficult otherwise, maybe. Or...
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, let's do just the winner.
Sorry, the winner.
For the poll, let's just do the winner. I I mean, will you be insulted if I don't put you?
No, don't worry. There will be a second
you know what?
episode.
I will go for you. I will go for you because
Okay.
I think you're gonna get it. So my poll is you, and then in second place, Celine, and then Femme. That's what I'm going for.
I think Celine wins. Then I'm second. Femme third.
Okay, well, people,
Just
you can
because I don't
participate.
like to become third.
Yeah. Perfect. People, you can tell us what you think.
We will put out
and
a poll there.
we'll put out a poll. Okay, last question. A hot take.
Hot take.
So then also something people can participate. So what is, big question, serious stuff, only business. What is the best hairstyle for racing in your opinion? And like there's no, you can talk about, either comfort, performance, looks, like what looks better. Like what is your favorite style?
Performance-wise, you better have almost nothing, so it's all stuck behind your head. For the looks, it's nicer when it's a little bit, loose even, but I would not suggest riding with your hair not in a tie because it's even a bit dangerous if you would crash and it's stuck in something. It's very painful.
That's true.
So don't do that, please. But for style, yes, maybe. Like I have a picture now in my head from, like you have sometimes these commercials where then they already want to also look like they take an eye on safety. So someone is casually riding a bike with her normal hairdress but a helmet on. You know what I mean then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the wind.
Yeah, and the flare and the hair. Yes, but so that's only for the looks. But I also really like a braid. You call that, right? A braid when you...
Braid.
Yes, sorry, braid. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, okay, so if you have to choose, because you were going with the braid more often before, and I noticed now you're going with the bun.
My braid is too long.
If you had to...
It's too
if you
long,
had to
so
choose.
it was annoying
it's too
in
long.
front. Yes, I actually have to... So to be honest, actually, I'm already almost saying a year this, but I want to cut it to donate my hair.
Cool.
But it's long enough for that already. But I just don't go to the hairdresser yet. This is basically the thing. So, but I came on a point this summer that I got really annoyed by it swinging around in front of me. So now I put it back up. Yes. So this is the reason.
When you do the braid, do you make it like a French braid, or do you make like first a ponytail and then a braid? What's the strategy?
Normally French, because I like, now it's also not so much anymore, but I like more layers in my hair. And if you then don't do a French one, it's all over the place and getting out of your helmet, like how Pogacar has this little lock out of his helmet. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have a confession. I am not able to braid my own hair, and that's why. No, that's why I always make the bun because
I know
can't
what
do
to
it.
learn you.
Well, this summer I was like, I'm 31 years old. I need to know, like, just because one day maybe I have a kid, like I have to know. So I learned on a YouTube tutorial, and I can kind of do it, but it's so messy. Like the hair, I need more practice. When I do it, it's kind of loose and it's messy, and it takes me like 10 minutes. So my arms are cramping. It's really bad. So that's why I just always do the bun. That's a reason.
Yeah, the bun is also really nice and easy, but
it's easy.
We can train on that.
And then about the bun. Now that's like another question. Do you like a tight bun or a messy bun? And like the messy can be tight, but for looks.
No, messy, because tight, it looks too serious.
Yeah, I agree. I like messy, but it has to be tight still. It has to like hold tight, but look messy. It's quite a balance.
Yeah, it's important stuff, this, eh?
Important. I mean, I told you, it's all about seriousness, like all business.
But the messy bun is complicated with a helmet.
Yeah. What I do is like I first do a ponytail, then I put it out the hole of the helmet.
Yeah.
And then I make the bun outside the helmet.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's how I do it.
So
too.
people, we want to know, people, what is your best hairstyle? Is it loose, simple ponytail, a bun, a braid,
Some
something
people
revolutionary that we don't know?
yeah, because I also sometimes see people do like a small braid and then tied it together in the back, and so
Oh, no, that's nice.
yeah, yeah. But
That's quite
I would
actually.
think your helmet goes not straight, you know, like
Yeah, Helen Clozel does something like that, and we should ask her because she does, I think, 2 small braids and then a bun. It
Ah.
looks good, but
And-
how does she do it?
Do you remember Daphne van der Brand?
No.
She had her own, her own style, and she's very recognizable for that. She always had 2 little braids, left and right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. And actually, Lynn Burquier also has something where sometimes she makes like small braids and then a big braid together.
A lot of
It
work.
looks a lot of work. Yeah. I mean, it would take me 2 hours
And a lot of cramp.
and a lot of cramps. Then I can't like pick my bike and yeah. Okay, so people tell us. We want to know. We'll put an Instagram poll because we want to know like what's
Yes.
the best. Like, what do you like more and what looks the best? So
So we get 2
Yeah.
polls basically.
2
Just
polls.
some
Big,
administration here. Huh?
yeah. Lots of stuff to do this week. Levin, we're gonna need your help.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay, I mean, I think that's it for first episode.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think we shared so much, and for sure
Yeah.
when we put this down, then comes up a lot. But we need to keep some stuff for the next episodes. We have to fill because, like, that maybe something I don't know if we told that, but so last year we just randomly were there, but this time from now on we will find it every Thursday in your favorite podcast app. So we have some work to do make sure you guys can listen every week to us.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you. Good luck this weekend. I'll be cheering for you.
Thanks.
And I mean, I'll talk to you one more time and then I see you in Dublin. So
Exactly.
it's coming up.
Yes, it's coming closer.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you again to Whoop for supporting us. And people, we will put a link. So if you be curious to try the Whoop, you can go to join.whoop.com/dirty. And this will allow you to try the Whoop for 1 month for free. And then for free, you also get the bracelet. You get the full app unlocked for 30 days. And if you don't like it, you just send it back. But make sure you use the code that will give you, not the code, make sure you use the link, which will be in the podcast note. Using this link will give you the month free trial. So try it out. Let us know what you think and let us know if you have questions about it too. All right. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.